My parents have lived in 3 different countries: India, Canada, and the United States. My dad left India for Canada in 1975 and my mom left in 81. They both came to the US in 1985. Both of my parents grew up in India in large middle-class families. My dad has 3 brothers and 1 sister. My mom has 5 brothers and 1 sister. They had many aunts, uncles, and cousins. My uncle was the first to leave India. He then started a chain migration by sponsoring his siblings. My dad left hoping to get his master's degree, but there were issues with his student visa and it didn't work out. So he went to Toronto and lived with my uncle for a while. My grandfather, my dad's dad, pushed all of his kids to get a good education and move abroad.
English, so he was very well educated. He was originally a teacher. So he always wanted all of us to have a good education. He always wanted all of us to explore, the other countries.
My dad lived in Toronto for a while, but was having a hard time finding a job. Throughout Canada, the unemployment rate was rising during the late 70s. Due to an oil boom in Alberta, my dad went there and was easily able to find work.
There are a lot of jobs out there, so my brother gave me a return trip ticket on a Greyhound to go to Edmonton, and that's how I ended up in Edmonton. Within the first 2 weeks I got a job, so that's where I really started my life.
My dad was a part of a wave of immigrants into Alberta, where he lived with a few roommates. Shortly after, my mom and dad got married. So, in 1981, my mom also emigrated to Canada. This new life was a great new adventure for my parents, but it came with its fair share of difficulties as well, such as the cold weather, limited access to food, and homesickness.
I left India in November of '75, and it's still pretty hot in our part of the country. So it was a shock to the system when I arrived. Pretty cold. Didn't know how cold it would get. So I'm a vegetarian. Alberta is kind of a beef country, so there was nothing else available other than meat and potatoes. Maybe sometimes peas, but that's about it.
I joined ESL classes where I met some friends and we talked to each other and comforted each other. We are all missing our families back home. It was rough. At that time, we did not have FaceTime or things like that, so any communication we had was through the mail. Telephone was very expensive and not everyone had one in their house.
Before I lost my job, I felt very comfortable that I had been at this job for a long time. So I bought the land, designed my house, built the house, moved in the house, and the day I moved in the house, I lost my job. So, there were some hard times.
In 1985, after a year of trying to find a steady job in Canada, my parents decided to move to the US.
So life is good here. We have kind of assimilated in the society because of the job, kind of work we do, and both of our kids are born here. This is our country. We've been here for close to 30 years now, and this is our home.
Lastly, I want to say thank you to my mom and dad for sharing your story, and thank you to my whole family for all the sacrifices you've made and all the opportunities you've given me. Thank you.
Created using Powtoon.